I'm Lucia Knight, and this is the Joy at Work podcast. Here's this week's question from a listener.
After some time job hunting, I'm now finding myself applying for roles that pay less than my previous salary, sometimes substantially less, and I'm still not getting selected for an interview. What's going on?
Firstly, let me take you back to the summer of 1986, Northern Ireland. I was about 15, bored, wearing endlessly damp school jumpers from the almost constant rainfall. Feisty, moody, angsty pop songs. And then, boom, Madonna's La Isla Bonita hit the airwaves. Bongo beats, salsa rhythms, acoustic guitars, sultry Spanish perfume drifting over the airwaves. That song jolted me awake. Now, why am I talking about 1980s music on a podcast about career and work-life happiness? Because that's what your career story needs to do, especially in midlife. It needs to be a bit more Isla Bonita. It needs to jolt people awake, because if it doesn't, you risk becoming part of the bland, samey background noise. And I call this phenomenon, and I've been noticing it for years, the squeeze. It's something that quietly dampens your impact at work and your attractiveness for future work. You don't notice it at first, but over time, your work gets seen as less unique and less urgent and less valuable. And if that goes on for long, it hits your self-worth. Here's how I define it. The squeeze happens when your skills or talents become commoditized by the market, which means your earning power shrinks. The decrease in earnings usually occurs slowly at first, so slowly it's hard to notice, until you wake up one day and you're applying for roles at half your salary, and you're still not getting picked. If this sounds familiar, you might be experiencing the squeeze. Here are a few signs I've been noticing for decades, even before I named it the squeeze. You're using generic language to describe what you do: consulting, strategy, marketing, finance, or worse, leadership. But you're not describing the actual magic of your work. Your CVs, proposals, pitches, they don't lift anybody's eyebrows in curiosity because they feel the same as all the others. You're applying for jobs or work that pays less than you used to earn. You're starting to wonder if all those years of experience even matter anymore. And if you're being honest, it might feel like your career is slip sliding, quietly, painfully. And here's the most dangerous thing. The squeeze doesn't just affect your wallet. It affects your mood, your inner confidence, your identity. It messes with your sense of self, which then messes with your relationships and how you show up in the world. And left unchecked, it leads to shame. And shame as an emotion shuts us down. It leads to less and less action towards change. And action towards change is necessary if you want to keep earning well until you choose to stop working. Now, let's talk about who gets squeezed. My research shows me that without a doubt, this isn't just happening in one sector. I've seen the squeeze happen in pharma, tech, law, academia, banking, finance. I can't guarantee it, but my research suggests that it's happening in most sectors. But it's the most brutal for these three groups of people. The first is small business owners who haven't nailed the specific problem they solve or gotten uber clear on who exactly needs their talents. That means it's hard to differentiate them from every Tom, Dick and Sarah. So they end up undercharging and or being overlooked. The second group that the squeeze impacts brutally are generalists. So if they're offering generic services, for example, I do marketing for anybody, they blend into a beige crowd. The world doesn't need more people who can do everything. It needs more people who can solve specific and valuable problems in specific and valuable ways. The third group that the squeeze impacts brutally are leaders who let their sharp technical edges become blunt. They've climbed the ladder, but they've left behind the specialist skills, knowledge, or talents that made them stand out from the crowd. Now, when it's time to reposition, they can't point to specific and tangible personal wins. Their offer becomes vague, and they find it hard to convince potential new employers of their unique fit for the unique problems that company is facing. So let me make this even more real. Let's talk about real human examples. Let's talk about Rory. Rory was a strategy consultant. He was smart and experienced and doing really well until he wasn't. He started losing roles to people 20 years younger with flashier LinkedIn profiles and lower rates. Not because he was worse than them, but because he wasn't different enough to stand out and to warrant his higher rates. We work together to uncover the 3 or 4 things that he does better than anyone else and to reposition his offer so that he stands out again. No more competing on price. He then secured a role in a smaller company than he had worked for previously, where his grey hairs and his wisdom gained from success and sometimes deep pain was exactly what the company was prepared to pay a premium for. Then there's Kieran. He's white, male, and in his 50s, and he was directly but confidentially informed that companies weren't prioritizing his demographic. Brutal. Maybe, but he could handle the truth. Instead of shrinking, he deliberately redefined his offering. He sharpened his value proposition, repackaged his experience, making sure he was seen for the real value he brings and to whom. It's 4 years since we worked together, and he's had 4 years of highly paid, mostly satisfying work. And then there's Jolene. Jolene left her first career in media and started a small business that worked when her children were young. But by the time they were at secondary school, she was bored out of her skull. We reworked her positioning to highlight her actual brilliance. And suddenly, she was working with people who got her, earning more, way more than before in half the time. In a newly created portfolio career that kept her big brain challenged for the 3 days a week that she worked. Then in her spare time, she and an ex-colleague created a new business that has now gone global and is giving her more satisfaction, intellectual challenge, and fun at work than she ever thought possible. When we caught up recently, her whispered financial projections were eye-watering in a good way. You can read about these and other case studies on my website. I'll include a link. So now to the important part. If you're still listening, you'll want to know how to avoid the squeeze. I will not pretend this is easy. Career redesign after 40 isn't a 3 simple steps to work-life bliss kind of journey. But there are 3 core strategies that are proven to work. Number 1, discover your superpowers. What are the 3 or 4 things you do uniquely well? Not general things, not leadership or communication or finance. I mean tangible, specific, floor-wiping skills. The kind that set you apart instantly. Said in your language, not boring CV, resume, search keyword language. This is your uniqueness. So it's got to be, you guessed it, unique to you. Number 2, become obsessed with a specific problem. What kind of ultra-specific problems light you up? What challenges do you actually care about solving? Who specifically experiences those problems? Don't guess, analyze, be deliberate, choose your space for the next decade. That focus actually opens more doors than keeping all the doors open and hoping someone will walk through. Number 3, work really hard on your communication. You need to communicate your uniqueness until it lands. Can you describe your value in a sentence that makes people lean in and ask, how do you do that? If not, it's time to work on your messaging. Because no matter how brilliant you are, if people don't get it, they just won't buy it. No matter how much you charge. We work through all of these and more in the Fierce Emporium, with 1 full year of support to ask questions, to compare how others do it, to get loads of feedback, to design experiments, to get your messaging reviewed, and to refine your positioning so that you can earn what you want or need to earn for the rest of your working life. And if you want more personalized help, consider the Fierce Accelerator program. I'll include links in the show notes. Here's what I want for our listener who is finding themselves applying for jobs that pay less than their worth and still not getting chosen. I want you not just to keep earning, but to earn your value, to work less and earn more, to do meaningful work that lights you up and pays you properly, to stand out like Madonna's La Isla Bonita in a world of noise. You're not done. It's not too late. And you are not too expensive. You just need a clearer, sharper, and more specific pitch about your potential value, more specific than you've ever needed in your career to date. You need to stop blending in and start standing out as the unique, superpowered, and truly fierce human that you are. And that sounds like joy at work to me.